that is the Gold Cup hero. Two of the most admirable chasers you could possibly wish to see.
Relentless, remorseless, and pounding Cordon Star into submission.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Racehour podcast, brought to you with our friends at bookmakers.co.uk. It's me, Dean Ryan, in the towers at bookmakers.co.uk. I'm joined by Diarmuid Nolan. Demo.
Hello, Dino.
How are you?
All good, man.
Good. And Dave Weldon is back. Dave?
How are you?
All good, thanks.
Good stuff.
I did give you a shout out on the podcast, I think a week or so ago, about Notebook winning over Christmas, when all we wanted to talk about was other horses in the race, albeit they were good horses. Fair play to you. Good to have you back on. We've got the usual format of the Racehour podcast to come. We're going to have a look at some of the winners from last weekend. We're also going to take a quick look at anything else to go into the Notebook, and then it's on to weekend racing and our Cheltenham ante-post race for this week, and it'll be the final part of the podcast is the Champion Hurdle. So we should have some plenty of fiery debate about that, Diarmuid Nolan, you think?
Most certainly, yes.
Might do, yeah. Another thing I want to point out, the Cheltenham preview night for the Racehour is back. Will be on exactly the same date as it was last year, 27th February, in the Goat in Leopardstown. Details of how you can get involved. We will be bringing along a load of Racehour listeners. Will be coming out in the next couple of weeks, so do keep an eye out for that. And also our tipping column, Demo, is still on fire on bookmakers.co.uk.
Yeah, well, like obviously it feeds from the podcast, and it's up 85 points now since October.
Yeah.
So that's a £10 stake, £850. So yeah, it's gone very well, almost too well that you'd be kind of terrified now, Dean, that as we go into the most important part of the season, we've kind of used up our credits. But
the way I look at it is, we can just tip losers now all the way through. And we'll probably at the end of it, we'll go, we finished 8 points up. It's not bad.
It's not bad at all.
Better than any tipping service.
It will be subscription only soon.
Yeah,
that's not true, but just bear it in mind, because if it ever happens, I'll be able to say.
Yeah,
I did say it.
There was a bit of luck, obviously. Burrow's Edge winning, and then Mossy Fenn really rattled home. He's a real 3-mile chaser in the making, and then Kimberlite Candy looks like he could well be a Grand National horse in time.
Well, I can take like a third of the credit for Mossy Fenn, because I think it was a podcast charge and there were 3 of us on the pod and we all liked it. The other 2 very much you. And what's been good about that column is that when I'm absolutely toilet with the tips, which happens
regularly,
thanks, Dave, which happens from time to time, but I do have my little spells.
Yeah, no, same thing with me though. When I'm in bad form, you're in good form.
Then you might be all right, because we tend to disagree on most selections. So trying to actually put together the few tips for that column, which goes out on a Friday night, is generally like, you take that race because I know you like that one and I don't agree with you, but that's how it works. So maybe it's the future.
Could be.
Yeah, could be. I think, Dave. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about some of these then. Let's not really necessarily harp on about the ones that we did pick. I guess Kimberlite Candy's worth a mention, because Grand National will be in their sights, and a pretty tough performance from Kimberlite Candy, Demo.
Yeah, brilliant performance. Captain Chaos set real proper fractions out in front, and kind of obviously got there and saw him off quite easy in the end, kind of really bound away.
A couple of times I thought he hit a little flat spot or didn't jump exactly as they wanted, and then you're like, oh, well, that's him done, but he wasn't done.
No, Richie McClernand's a very sympathetic rider as well, so I think he was just going as soft as possible. But the Lucinda Russell, obviously Grand National winner, took a very, very similar route to here as well, and this horse was second in the Beecher chase when obviously wanting further, and then kind of bound clear in that classic chase. Tiger Roll is still the one they have to beat if he turns up, but Kimberlite Candy now has announced himself as a proper Grand National horse. He's getting better with the further that he's going, and he's very interesting. It'll be quite nice for Richie McClernan after, I'd say, he still wakes up in sweats from the Sunny Hill boy not quite getting home that day.
He looked at the screen. It definitely felt to me that he looked at the screen.
He looked at the screen.
We're going back years now. Yeah. He looked at the screen and was like, oh.
And he didn't use his whip, and he didn't. Oh, it was a horrible, horrible thing.
Wasn't a day to protect a mark. Not that he was doing.
No, of course not. But I had him backed as well that day. So hopefully now,
remarkable race.
It'd be quite sweet now if Kimberlite Candy could exercise those demons for him, Dean.
Yeah, sorry, Dave. I know you like an ante-post stab now and again. Would he be on your list for Grand National?
I don't know. The race kind of cut up a bit. Like, nothing really got into it. The conditional, you'd say, probably didn't stay. Captain Chaos wouldn't really be on your radar for a Grand National. He did it well, and I think probably there'd be better weighted horses on the day in the Grand National than him.
The hipsters are talking about last year's 4-miler winner. You can't see me doing my invert quotes. The 3 miles.
Oh,
6
LeBroy.
LeBroy being.
He was dropped £3 for it.
Yeah, eye-catching enough.
Yeah.
I just thought that Captain Chaos burned them out, and
He did.
He went.
He took them all off their feet, and it was really
The way-
heavy going. Like, it
yeah.
bottom out a lot of horses, I think.
And the way the Grand National goes now is that you need to be able to live with a pace like that, because it's basically a long hurdle race now. So Kimberley Candy has proven that A, he's adept at defences, and B, that he's well capable of living with a quick pace like that off the front, which is pretty much all you need to be now at the Grand National, because it's not the race that it once was.
Oh no, it's a glorified hurdle, but that's my view. Let's talk about Burrows Edge. Not necessarily in that Burrows Edge won the race on merit, because I think many would disagree. But he was coming there to put up a challenge, and Notch Pare is a horse that I wonder whether, if ridden more aggressively, maybe that wasn't possible for Barry on the day. But sometimes you're trying to keep horses in their projected progression. And he could have gone and won that race a length, and they'd be like, well, next time he's going to be better. Actually could have probably gone and won that race 10 lengths, I thought, if they really put the gun to his head. And I'm not sure they did. He's at a fall now. So there's a few other horses to talk about in that race, Dave.
I thought Burrows Edge would have won.
Could have done.
If they both stood up. If you look at the distance between the eventual second and Burrows Edge, he was coming with a wet sail down the stand side of the road. So I would actually mark up that performance for Burrows Edge, because I think he probably underestimated next time in the market, and he'd probably go off a decent price. Notch Perry has done that before. Now, I've backed him a few times before, and he's come looking like he's going to win, and hasn't found that off the bridle. So I'd be just a bit wary of him. And that was when Ollies were out of form. They're back in form, and he kind of did the same again. So maybe he's just a bit of a dodge pot. And what was the horse? The Bestie Man, was it?
The Bestie Man.
Yeah.
I think he could be one as well. He might get a soft touch 2.5 mile hurdle.
Haydock somewhere, probably.
Go off in the front and take that. But like the Lanzarote is billed as a massive handicap hurdle, when really it's not.
Look weak enough.
Yeah.
This time round. I mean, Demo, you did find the winner. Probably not how you expected it to unfold, but
No.
What you be taking forward?
I wouldn't be taking anything.
Really?
The race at all. No. The Bestie Man, I completely agree with Dave. I think he'll pick up the end of the season there at Haydock or something. There'll be one of those real heavy ground handicap hurdles that he'll pick up with when Sue Smith knocks in about 4 winners that day. But bar that, Burrows Edge, like, he could go on and he could be the next William Henry, and he could just fly home in a Coral Cup, but I just don't think anything's good enough in that race.
Well, doing his best work at the end of, that's always a good sign. Let's talk about Mossy Fen. All I took from Mossy Fen was he definitely wasn't going to win, and then he is just a 3-mile stay and chase. Who came good and smashed them all up right at the end.
He's a future Welsh National winner, isn't he?
Stop.
He really is, but he's a pure out and out stayer. I'd love now if they completely avoided all the big festivals with him. He's still very, very raw.
They're not going to do that.
When they showed, because when they got, maybe Aintree, but when they got after him, he really rattled home, but he was just all over the place. He's a really likeable horse. I think he's got a very big future ahead of him, but that future is over fences. It's not over hurdles. Yeah,
definitely. I look forward to him doing that. Did you want to pick up on Mossy Fen, or shall we talk about another horse?
Move on.
Frodon. They're going to go for a Gold Cup. I think they should go for a Gold Cup.
They should go for Gold Cup.
Because that horse has done everything.
Yeah, they should have went last year. I know it won Ryanair in the end, so happy days. But
they had someday.
The form he was in last year, they should have went last year to the Gold Cup, because he's a year older now, and he's a year more racing under his belt. It's less likely that he's going to have the progression to win a Gold Cup this year. In fairness, if you look at that race, is it any better than the Grade 3 beating Top Notch around Kempton?
Some days Top Notch turns up and is top notch.
Exactly, yeah.
Most days it's not.
Yeah.
Well, most days just good.
I'd be
good notch.
Because of the rider and the connections, that race has been billed as something more than it was, in my view.
Okay.
So it was a grand performance, but nothing more than that.
Dem, I know you're not taking Frodon forward for a Gold Cup or anything of its like, but a remarkable animal.
Obviously, the whole thing is great for racing. But I think with him, the likes of him now, you'd be probably better off really aiming at something like the Aintree Bowl and trying to catch a load of horses out on the day. As much as the Gold Cup feels like a race that's cutting up, it would be a terrible Gold Cup if Frodon ends up as our
I
Gold
don't
Cup
think
winner for the
Frodon
season.
can win a Gold Cup, because something with a bit more stamp or a bit more class is going to beat it. But if he just runs his best race, he's probably 3rd or 4th in a Gold Cup, because you always get something that
you can see a scenario where Bryony's leading over the last.
I'd love that.
And getting swallowed up. And the commentator is doing
willing it to happen.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Roaring bull. Yeah. No, we won't do that. Froden doesn't quite have the same sound. But cracking horse. Let's talk about carefully selected. I'm not overly enthused. That race seemed like a lot of horses weren't really at the races, and carefully selected was right at the front of the race and just did what it did. There was a more interesting runner in behind, Dave, I'd suggest.
Yeah.
Or was there?
There was two, probably.
Okay.
3 even. I'd say that it was the case that carefully selected was always going to win that race, and nothing wanted to be too close to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you fancy this horse for what is still called the 4 miler? Or an RSA. I mean,
he hasn't qualified for the 4 miler yet.
He will if that's what they want to do.
He needs to have another run over 2 miles 7 plus and finish in the first 4 to qualify.
Right.
That's one of the new rules. And Patrick Mullins was on this morning saying that he wants to ride carefully selected in the national race.
I'm sure he does,
and he wants him to get qualified. So.
And normally he just takes over those entries from Willie, doesn't he, and puts the one he wants in.
Leaves it out of the RSA, so he has to run in the national run chase. What was the horse he did it with? Was it on his own or something like that? They left out of the RSA and you had to run them.
And was it Back in Focus as well? Maybe they did that with
2013.
So I mean, look, he looks a very admirable type.
Yeah, he's 4-1 at the moment. Like, it wouldn't interest me in 4-1. Race.
Okay. Demo carefully selected.
Yeah, no, the exact same. Kind of went from the front in a race where nothing in behind. City Islands hates fences. Absolutely hates them.
Do we think that was it? Is that?
I think he jumped better than the first day.
I think he was still just grubby. Like, he's not a chaser at all. The ground
is going to, I think he's getting stuck in the ground when he's trying to jump out. And when he comes back onto good ground, he might be a different animal. I don't know.
That's the biggest question mark of that race.
It's hard to know what that Ballymore is actually worth now from last season. As much as Champ has done what he's done this season, it's still hard to know what's...
It's very solid to beat Champ.
Storm has done fine.
Yeah, it's very solid to beat Champ.
As in, we left that race that day because we were all at Cheltenham together.
Yeah.
And we said that looks like a proper race. And all I'm wondering is that at the moment, have we all bigged that up a bit too much because it hasn't done much really?
Champ has properly franked it, surely. Yeah, and Bruno of a Storm
and they were
has franked it
on the day.
I just don't like Champ, so I'm probably just...
No, I know. Look, just because Champ fell the last day,
doesn't mean he's not a good horse.
He's franked it. I wonder what they're going to do with City Island, because they now have the dilemma of this isn't going to plan.
But
maybe it's going to plan and we don't know what the plan is.
Did they put up stumps now and go back hurling and go back to chasing next year, or do they see it through and run a maiden in a Grade 1 at Cheltenham or whatever, or do they handicap them?
Well, they can go and find a race for City Island, surely. It doesn't have to be taken on carefully selected in a race like that. There will be easier opportunities as the other ones have all gone and done what they need to do already. Okay, I think that is the question mark there. I don't know the answer to it. Okay, so now we talk about a race that has been absolutely dissected on social media to the nth degree and discussed a million times. So let's add our 2 pence to it. Andy Dufresne and Captain Guinness. Now, the hipster horse for Cheltenham is now Captain Guinness. I did see a rumour, I can't remember who put it up, that maybe that's now a JP horse, which would be interesting enough. I don't know if that's confirmed.
Put it up,
Okay, so I don't know if that's confirmed or not. But Andy Dufresne, to me, looks like needs a trip, and I like the horse a lot. The pace in that race was all over the place, I thought. But Captain Guinness, for an inexperienced animal, put up a big run. But I think I'm looking at that distance, these types of horses being Grade 2, Grade 3. I don't have them as superstars, but I could be wrong.
No, I think both of them are Grade 2 horses. I think Captain Guinness going forward over fences could well be an Arkle horse in 15, 16
Andy
months' time.
Dufresne's going to be a good chaser, I think, too.
He will, but neither of them, in my opinion, are up to much for this season's novices hurdles. I think Andy Dufresne, there's not one piece of form that he carries that is actually worth much. He hasn't beaten any good horses. He carries in absolutely nothing, and I think we all got carried away with him because of the amount of novices down there in Gordon's. But I think I think Gordon himself has 3 or 4 runners ahead of him.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, and the style that Andy Dufresne won his bumper in was the style of a very good horse, and it was very taken. And everyone, and cause of the name as well. Like, not saying that punters are idiots when it comes to names, but sometimes they are. And a name like Andy Dufresne it's a quality name. Like,
and he beat nothing in that bumper.
And he beat nothing in that bumper.
Nothing
and he did his maiden hurl very well, and then he flopped behind probably a good horse in his exhibition. When he just was outstayed, drop back 2 miles seemed logical. Like, the time of that race, and I'm not a massive time man at all, but it was slower over the last 2 hurdles than the 2 mile 5 mare's hurdle was.
Yeah, I got the impression they went quick, went slow, went quick, went slow.
Yeah, like the horse in second cut his own throat. He pulled himself to asunder, and then you're kind of coming back then saying to yourself that, oh well, Andy Dufresne beat a very good horse on the day. I don't think
But that was
he
the second
did.
run. Like, he's going to improve massively.
He's going to
again,
improve
Captain
huge.
Guinness,
Oh no, he's a very good horse.
Like, Andy Dufresne should be much more of a finished article than Captain Guinness is now, and should have put him to bed easier, I think, if Andy Dufresne is the horse that Twitter and social media would like to think he is.
Yeah.
But he's not.
He's not, no. And Captain Guinness, he's an awful lot of growing up to do. I wouldn't be going near him for Cheltenham, but I think for the Arkle next season, he'd be very interesting.
I think the race it was builds into that a lot. Like, the Moscow Flyer is traditionally one of Ireland's strongest trials for the Supreme. Like, Vittora's won it, Duvan's won it, etc. And this year, it's just the way the season's worked out with the ground being soft pretty much all the way through. The horses have already run their trials basically before that.
Abacadabra, etc.
Or Dublin Race Festival's going to take over, and that's going to be the main trial.
So there was no one but Andy Dufresne waiting for this to get the situation. Just to show that I'm not affected by the name, I just Googled it because I didn't really know what you were talking about, but now I do.
You've never watched
I have, but I didn't remember the guy's name.
Shawshank Redemption?
Yeah, I've seen the film.
The main character.
Yeah, but
Oh dear God.
it wouldn't
It's
have,
cultured as a yogurt.
wouldn't have clicked with me like.
Yeah.
But it has now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Tim Robbins.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah.
I'm down with the kids. Okay. Anything else in the notebook? I just want to mention that I nearly napped Big River last week on the podcast, and for a race he didn't run it.
Yeah, you would have enough for a wrong day.
One on Sunday though.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out.
And then he told me not to back it on
Don't
Sunday
put it in the
as well.
notebook like
Yeah,
that.
he did.
Yeah, he told me not to back it on Sunday as well.
Yeah, small details.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to pick out from the weekend?
Yeah, at the Acorn on Saturday at Fairyhouse was a horse we really fancied. Well, everyone in Ireland fancied over Christmas. Over 2 miles won. Kind of rattled home on the trip, but did just kind of sympathetic enough. But at the weekend now he won very, very well. Kind of had to win that well to get himself up in the handicap for the Dublin Racing Festival, you'd think. And then it would kind of be something like he'd probably win there and maybe go on to the Cheltenham Festival.
He won. He won despite of Philip Enright trying to not let him win so far, because if you watch the race, Philip Enright is at pains to hold them together and hold and pull them back, saying, "Don't stop going too far in front. Stop going too far."
Yeah, he won as far as he can. But you're like, the only way that Tony Martin does actually train a winner these days is to have a horse about 40 pounds below their actual winning mark. Anyway, but and aside from that,
that's not a new thing. Like, it's his modus is to get well handicapped horses, which is a very it's an acceptable way of training.
Yeah. And but at the Acorn, he's won for the Dublin Racing Festival and handicap chase that you would take quite
I
seriously.
think few people might have noticed him though.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and the last day when we were on.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the weekend review. We'll take a very quick break before we come back and do we'll do pretty much all the TV races ahead of us this weekend. Don't forget, the final part of this podcast this week is all about the Champion Hurdle.
You're listening to the Racehour podcast, brought to you by bookmakers.co.uk. Check out bookmakers.co.uk each and every day for tips, news and the best odds for horse racing. Looking for a new bookmaker and the best sign up offers in the industry? You'll find that at bookmakers.co.uk, sponsors of the Racehour.
Okay, and welcome back to the Racehour podcast, brought to you with our friends at bookmakers.co.uk. It's David Weldon, Diarmuid Nolan, and myself, Dean Ryan. Let's take a look at some of the, pretty much all of the weekend racing on the box, Ascot and Haydock. For us to get stuck into. The 150 at Ascot, prices are up for this. I see Oliver Sherwood and Leighton Aspel have got the current market leader, that's Papagana, who's an interesting runner. Jessica Harrington might send over Magical Light. We don't know because no jockey booked up, but when she does come, always worth taking note. Probably just going to get a pretty small field here for this demo.
Yeah, Jessica Harrington's one to be very careful of at the moment. She's 2 winners from 82 runners since November.
Yeah.
It's very unlike her. She's just in really bad form, and you can see that Robbie Power, whenever there's a choice between Tizard and Harrington, he's gone over to Tizard straight away. It's not even. It doesn't seem to be a contest whatsoever. So
she's not normally a seasonal trainer either. She generally just
kind of keeps motoring through the whole time. Yeah. So like there clearly is something going on, or her jumps team just mightn't be that strong this year. But I think in the 150 at Ascot, Sensilano is the one that I'm quite interested in. The penny seems to finally really dropped with her. She's 5-1 in a race that you obviously wouldn't be going too heavy in, but she was very good last time in the listed contest there at Warwick. Noel Williams mentioned this race straight away afterwards. He's a fine trainer, and 5-1 on Sensilano here looked quite interesting to him.
Okay, Sensilano for demo. Dave Weldon.
Papagana for Ollie Sherwood and Leighton Aspel. Case is quite simple. Beat Cultural Silva by 9 lengths at Kempton on the 25th of November, and then ran third when went off 9-4 behind the World's End and Lambie Surge in the long walk, which is the strongest form on offer here. It's £12 on official ratings in hand with Dermo's selection there, and only has to give her £4. So I think she's quite clear at the ratings. And
you see that price shortening up as well, maybe. I mean, what is it now, like 9-4?
9-4, 2-1. Generally.
Yeah.
So you probably 6-4.
I know, like it's a mares only race, and you're probably going to get most of them who want to go, probably going to run. But I can see it dropping down at least below 8.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. I've no view on it really. I think the favourite's pretty strong. But if Jessie brings Magical 8, and even if they're out of form, they must fancy it.
Yeah, she's a real admirable mare. She just keeps going as well, doesn't she? So,
she's probably not as good over hurdles though as she's over fences.
It's the remarkable stat of winning the last race by 99 lengths, which I think might be incorrect. Don't know why anyone bothered to count that far back. Okay, let's move on then. Why don't we take a race at Haydock, which is the first one they've got on the box, which is the Supreme Trial. Grade 2 affair. Tom Cannon, Alan King. I don't think this will be at the top of anyone's Supreme list, but Edwardstone is a nice horse. It's going to head the market.
Yeah, I mean, Edwardstone, like, he boasts 2 very decent pieces of form coming into this. I mean, he's beaten Harry Senior and Fiddler on the Roof here. That form has been well franked, obviously, by Fiddler on the Roof. So Edwardstone is quite interesting, but I think Stolen Silver here is far too big a price for Nigel and Sam Twiston Davis. I mean, that was a huge run last time out when a close second behind Chantry House at Cheltenham, and the Fort Pyleon has come out and absolutely hammered the field at Catterick. It really does look like strong form. Chantry House is one of Henderson's best novices as well this season, and when you consider that Chantry House last season came out and absolutely battered Edwardstone in a bumper as well, that form of just over a length there really between Stolen Silver and Chantry House is really strong, and like 8-1 in respect of this race when you've got, you know, Edwardstone, who we have a line through him already, the Banner King Rebel, who's a friend of the podcast because he has won for us before for Paddy Aspel, a horse that was behind him last time out as well in Glory and Fortune, was miles behind Stolen Silver. So there's very little aspect of this race that Stolen Silver doesn't seem to have kind of covered. So at 8-1, I'm kind of struggling to see how he is that price, Dean, and I'm very confident that he'll run a huge race. Okay, confident shout for a decent price horse in Stolen Silver in those dye watercolours as well, and they'd be always looking to have a supreme runner at the big day. Maybe I've dumbed this race down a little bit because we think about what's alive in Ireland and could end up in the Supreme. Maybe this is the best there is to offer in the UK, Dave.
It'd be close enough to it now. I fancy Edwardstone, but I'll just go through a couple of the others. Like Marie's Rock was very taken the last day when she won it. She absolutely hacked up. Ruba Valley finished second the last day, but before that had shown nice form, and even the second itself was behind Master Debonair, who was a decent horse and a decent yardstick. Yep. And Mr. Coffee could be anything for Nicky Henderson, and Navajo Pass won a good race at Doncaster the last day. And Fred, I know you like, but it's probably not good enough, but has at least shown some level of form as well. So it could be a decent race. Edwardstone, for me though, I agree, like Dermo has picked one out there at a slightly bigger price that has a line through him, but I just think this horse has been very progressive over hurdles so far. Beat Fiddler on the Roof, and Fiddler on the Roof was really well back that day and sent off odds on, and beat him. Not like it didn't look.
He was always holding.
But he was always holding, and he was quite comfortably clear. And he wasn't really fancied that day either. And then Harry Senior has come out in franked form since of his last run as well. And Chantry House, he finished second in 3 bumpers and won 2 hurdles. He's never finished outside the first 2. I think Edwardstone 14-1 as well for the Supreme. I think that's a bit of value. If he comes out and finishes second or third in this, or in my eyes he'll win it. But if he finishes second or third, he'll probably be cut as well for the Supreme. So 14-1 is probably a bit of value, and 2-1 on the day is fine for me.
Interesting. I mean, this is going to shake up the Supreme market a bit. Like, we do need some more leading hopes. I find that the Tizard horses that he has with Debonair and Fiddler on the Roof, obviously they might not go for that race, but like they're priced up based on winning pretty bad ground, bad condition races in grand style, and they look really smart, but you're just not sure they're going to replicate it. And then you see some of these other horses that have got a bit of form with them, or have even beaten those horses that, you know, we're still looking for pecking order to be sorted out. I think Fred at double figures, I know Nicky's got 3 in the race. If he ends up with just Fred, which is potentially possible, they do think a lot of this horse. He's 12-1. If I was going to have a bet right now, it would be Fred. You did mention the Banner King Rebel demo, and Jamie Snowden's already booked up Gavin Sheehan for it. It's in there, third best in the market.
He won very well at this track as well, so he can't be dismissed at all.
And this will be his fifth run of the term. He should be unbeaten.
Haydock will suit him.
Should be unbeaten as well. Yeah, he was one here, so he's out of the mix. That looks a hot enough race. I'd go Fred each way at this point if I had to have a bet, but I'm not going to have a bet until we get to Saturday. And if I play at all, I'd be interested to see how this goes.
Just a word for listeners at home. I would definitely be backing Stolen Silver now. He's jocked up. There's horses ahead of him that actually might not turn up. So Stolen Silver is 8-1. I'd be shocked if you get anything like that on the day.
And Dave suggests maybe that the Supreme Price a bit of value still around Edwardstone, even if you don't get involved in this straight away. Okay, what about then? We'll move back over to Ascot for their handicap hurdle, 225, so grade 3. Looks like this is where Peak Dorhe is going to show up, because it didn't show up last week in Lanzarote. A few nice horses in here. The Bold Plan was good last time. I thought Tom Lacey's Tea Clipper is a horse that everyone would be interested in, and also Thomas Darby is back over hurdles. That maybe is a talking point. I wonder what they're going to do with Thomas Darby, because fences haven't gone right. Might talk about him first, Emma.
Yeah, you'd anticipate, and we actually spoke about this yesterday ourselves. You'd anticipate now that this would be a quite enough run. Get him back to grips over hurdles. If he falls back down a pound or two as well, you'd be happy enough. Diamond King won the Coral Cup off 148. Thomas Darby is now rated 151. If they could get him down a pound or two, he's not far off that rating. And Thomas Darby is a better horse than Diamond King, you would be suggesting. So Ollie Murphy has previous of this, because obviously I know he was assistant trainer to Gordon Elliott, but it always felt when we went down to the yard that he was very much involved with the Diamond King. It was very much his horse, kind of. Now, that's a guesswork, really, but it did feel like
it's been shown as he's now a trainer and has a few horses for the same owners. And I don't know if anyone remembers the clip from when Diamond King won that race. Someone has a clip of Ollie running down the side of the final falling on his ass, mental, which on a great day, that's a nice side note. So he's got previous.
So Thomas Darby is 33-1 for the Coral Cup, and I don't think he's entered in the Champion Hurdle, but this feels like now, if you want to save what has been a poor season, you kind of line one out for something, don't you?
That's the problem.
I like this.
Yeah, it's a good angle.
I like
it as well. But Ollie could send him out there and say, right, let's see how good he is. And if he wins, then okay, we'll go Champion Hurdle route, because they're probably going to go back to fences next year anyway. Or if it doesn't really go right, then we go, okay, let's go Coral Cup. So you don't really know.
So my view is, if they think that and they go Champion Hurdle, it's like if they say they go for this race and they win it and they go Champion Hurdle, it's never going back over fences, would be my view. Yeah. So if they're saying he's definitely a chaser, we're going to go chasing next year, so let's get his confidence back. The only race they're going to end up being able to run in is the Coral Cup. Yeah. Which,
I'd expect them to have
33-1. But I see what you're saying, but that's where I'd go.
Yeah, it's a very interesting race overall. It's not just him. I mean, this Pick Dorhe, we don't know how good he is at all. I mean, he's interesting, but you'd kind of want to be crazy, I think, to be backing him at 5-1 when you're backing him purely on reputation alone. Now, that reputation is coming from the Paul Nicholls yard, which is obviously very interesting, but it's still reputation alone. He will not be the only horse ever that Paul Nicholls has talked up that didn't back it up. Plenty in here that you could really fancy. Obviously, the aforementioned Thomas Darby, but there's a horse that's very linked in with him, Dean. I know we're a bit sick of backing him, but I'm going to give him another go, and that's...
Don't say it.
Did they leave you out too?
Yeah.
He's off 132. The last time he ran, the Gifford Yard had not any winners. He's had 5 winners in November. His horses are running quite well, although it's hard to get a proper handle on them because there is so few of them down there. But the yard has definitely turned a corner. It's only 2 years ago a year and a half ago that he beat Thomas Darby here in November 2018. So he gets a 19-pound swing today with that horse. So he's running off 132. He did not just become a bad horse overnight. He's only 7 years old. Last time in November he went off 6-1. So somebody fancied him.
You could have let me say all this.
Yeah. So it's
stealing your thunder.
That all went wrong. So of 132, I think at 16-1, did it leave you out too? At his favourite track, has to be a bet.
He is the bet.
Yeah, he's
definitely the bet, because while you can fancy the sexy ones, and there's plenty of them in there, you're getting priced accordingly. And if we're right about Thomas Darby, and we could be way off, if we're right about Thomas Darby, he'll run well, but he probably won't be
He's
winning.
weighted low enough that he has to win to get into anything big in the spring anyway. So like everything else that's above him, you would understand if they weren't. Not that they're not trying. We would never suggest that on the race.
I think Thomas Darby is going to try this weekend. I just think after 2 experiences over fences and having been trained that way,
It'll be
he's going to at least
try.
need this. He's going to at least need this reintroduction. And he's got 11 stone 7, which is never going to be easy.
The horse here running off 10 stone 1, who's just very interesting.
Okay, Dave,
Yeah. I don't even want to interrupt with your did you leave out to party over there, but
please do though, because you know
there's one chalked up here for Harry Fry. Johnny's cracked it. Bit of an Ascot specialist.
75 years old.
It's only 11. Like,
yeah, I know,
it's a low racing. Like it's only ran 17 times. He's won at Ascot before. He's won big handicaps at Ascot before, and
I'm a big fan.
He's now £6 below his last winning mark, so about 12 to 1. Like he's going to be a runner. Might cut up a little bit.
I've seen 12s moves into 10s already. Sean Bowen is booked up, and they've no reason not to have a crack at this. Pardon the pun. And very, very tough animal.
Yeah, like he nearly 2 years off. Like so, they're in bonus territory now, trying to get prize money back.
Susie Smith might run the best man again straight away.
I'd be surprised. That was a hard run and a hard fall. You'd hold him back for something now. There'd be a handicap at entry for him, I would imagine. But again, I'm not going to guess who Smith's head.
Well, I mean, we'll just get in at the foot, won't it, without being reassessed for falling, I guess. Maybe the plan there. Okay, so did they leave you out to Dermo myself? Pretty keen. And a vote for the 175-year-old Jolly cracked it. We're going against the grain here with this market, but you never know. That sometimes works.
Oh, sorry. I'm always very wary of backing Tom Lacey horses. Like I don't think they're as genuine as they should be.
He's in some form though.
He goes in and out of form as reigns in Ireland, like, you know. And like 6 to 1, I wouldn't be taking 6 to 1 about him. And like William Henry's not going to be trying either. He's going to be going back to the Coral Cup. He's going to be looking to get a couple of pounds dropped off him. He's £5 higher at the moment.
Yeah, there's always a longer plan in play. I think they've had a couple of wind-ups there as well.
Yeah, he's on a second run after a wind-up. And like I couldn't be backing Pictori off that kind of price. And then once you get down, like those days are gone. It's over for Charles Burns. Well, he's over for Charles Burns. He's getting a mark. Yeah. A sight on his mark. Like, you know, so
100%.
Yeah, 1-3-2.
It's an open enough race, I think.
Yeah, and one that, you know, you've got to try and find an angle outside of just this is the horse. So okay, we went through that. We definitely got some interest in that contest for sure. The Peter Marsh is on at Haydock 240 on Saturday. This is a wide open race. Dave Weldon.
Yeah, it is. It's a race I probably struggled with a little bit because there's a couple who are double entered up, like some Midnight Tune could run on a mare's hurdle. Champers Nice gone back over fences. Probably won't go back over fences. I'd say they'll keep him to hurdles. Princess Scars is not going to run probably. The one I landed on, now he's towards the head of the market, but I don't understand why he's been dropped £6 since been brought down in the Gold Cup, and that's definitely red. He's down to 156 now from 162. It'd be a big weight carrying performance, but they're going to go Grand National route this year, so he's going to be high in the weights whatever happens in that. So they're not as if they're protecting any sort of mark. At 6 to 1, he'd probably run his race, go from the front, and a bit of each way value. If you're into that kind of thing.
Well, he's class act here.
Yeah.
I just wonder with them whether, you know, handicapper can be a little bit more considerate to 11-year-olds who run below their form. And
yeah, well, like in fact, like he's dropped him £6.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's happening.
Yeah, so he finished 5th at Punchestown, 4th at Weatherby and Charlie Hall, and 4th in the Beecher.
Yeah,
and he's dropping £6 for that. He dropped him £1 for finishing 4th in the Beecher, which I thought was very fair.
I love these races as races to solve, but I couldn't get involved at the top of the market at all. So I'm finding it very difficult to sort out. But the betting will tell you that, Demo, because it's like 6 to 1 for at the top.
Yeah, it's a race that definitely I would be avoiding the first 5 or 6 in the market. As much as I agree with Dave that the mark now that definitely red has been left on is very interesting. In a race like this, I just think that if push comes to shove at the end and he's 3 or 4 lengths down, let's say jumping the last, they're not going to kill him then maybe, you know. The one I thought that this will be his day and only his day and that he definitely will be off will be Get on the Jaeger, who's jocked up there for the Skeltons. That form last season of finishing 3rd behind Potter's Corner in March in the Midlands National is now looking very, very strong. He won't be stopping, and he's well weighted here off 9 stone 12 at the moment, which it looks like he will run off because of the top weight. So he really could go very well off such a lowly mark. He won't be stopping, and that Potter's Corner form has obviously been frank since. So I think he's a very interesting horse at 14-1, and he's one of the ones that I have backed. Dean.
Okay, get on the Jaeger. Do we think Princess Scars will come for Gordon Elliott? I know they're trying to check a handicap mark potentially, but 130, I mean, didn't really need to check that.
Yeah, they've checked it 3 or 4 times now.
Does
so
he need to check that?
He is going to be running in one of these.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it will be this weekend, probably not, but he will definitely be turning up eventually.
If he turns up, that's the horse I'd back.
Yeah.
I just think he's like, there's really no point checking that mark. It needs to come up.
Yeah.
So
no, it needs
they
to
can't keep wasting entry fees. Maybe they can, but Princess Scars would be interesting for me if he did turn up there. Albeit, if you put a gun to my head and I had to back one at the top, it would be Sean Bowen and Harry Fry's acting last. But this is such a very difficult contest to solve. In fact, the field could contract enough to make it far easier. It hasn't done that just yet. So that's the Peter Marsh Haydock on Saturday. What about the odd-looking market? I think maybe if you are a complete form student or a ratings man, to the new one Unibet Hurdle at Haydock 315, because Pentland Hills has got work to do with pretty much the field on ratings. Yeah, is 6-4 favourite to win this Champion Hurdle trial.
Yeah, please God now. This isn't another Call Me Lord, because Call Me Lord's gone from 5-2 to 5-1. If he's not running now, and like this market
But
play
there is
down
no
and
reason
down.
for them to run that horse against Pentland Hills,
No.
because they've won a race with Call Me Lord. Pentland Hills needs
100% not, but
like-
it's just been obviously the recent form of things. But yeah, it's Pentland Hills. As I said, he was a horse that I really, going into the season, I thought that Triumph Hurdle form was quite strong. If anything, it's got weaker really. It's kind of, I don't have much belief in him. I don't have much belief in that race that he finished fourth in last time. I think Epatante, just the way that he kicked Ballyandy out of the way, the way that she kicked Ballyandy out of the way so easily would make you think, what's the point in any of that form really? Pentland Hills, regardless of what he did wrong that day, and he did plenty wrong, you still have to win a race like that to be a Champion Hurdle horse. So in my opinion, this is a race, it's hard to know what shows up, it's hard to know how good any of them are. It wouldn't surprise me if Cornerstone Lad just went for the front and wasn't caught, but it's a race that it's a void for me then.
Hey, Dave, when we talked about Pentland Hills before on here, I think we were saying that did enough wrong to get beat, and perhaps you could elevate your reputation of Pentland Hills in your own mind. This is the day we find out.
Yeah, like he needs to be winning this and winning it well if he is going to be a Champion Hurdle contender. But I'm not sure heavy ground is what he's going to want, especially around Haydock. So with that in mind, I'd be watching brief for me. I was thinking Call Me Lord was too big in the market compared to him based on their form and soft ground, but it looks like he's not going to run. He's drifting all day. Racehour for Joseph O'Brien backed a little bit from 11
This
to 2
is
and
the
4 to
interesting
1.
horse.
That's like, it's a complete wild card. The last 2 runs, it won Webster Cup at Navan over fences, and then won a hurdle race at Gorn as he liked by 11 lengths, and even he became comedian of Willie Mullins the last day in that Webster Cup, and that went on to win a massive punch-down handicap as he liked. So there's obviously a good horse in there. It's just strange the campaigning of him, and you wouldn't really know where he's going to end up. He could end up winning this and being favourite for the. If he wins this by 5 lengths, he'd be favourite for the Champion Hurdle.
Well, it's JP colours, and they're missing their banker Champion Hurdle runner, aren't they, this year? So maybe they've had a rethink, and this horse wouldn't be that far away off winning a race like this anyway.
Epatante's their banker.
I know that, but that's another new recruit to their
Oh,
idea,
sorry.
So maybe, maybe when they decided Durasso is going to have to go back over hurdles and we're going to try and find a horse, so we hadn't seen Epatante do what Epatante.
It screams at Kevin Blake to me, doesn't it? Just that he's just spotted what is a very, very weak renewal of a race, and just
Frank Perry is not letting Kevin Blake anywhere near them entries to the JP horses, which is stop.
That's very true. But all I'm saying is that this screams of a bit smarter plan. That's very, very true. But it does scream of a bit of a smarter planning, because these kind of Champion Hurdle trials are the ones that you can grab.
Yeah, this is a bit of a soft touch, like big time, and it could be an easy way to pick up a prize.
If Kevin, as we led to believe, is race planning for Joseph O'Brien, someone come up with this idea, and looking at these entries,
you're saying it's a very good idea.
It looks super. It's very clever.
If Durasso wins this, he'll go up 6-7 pounds and will have to run in Champion Hurdle, because he's 153 now, and he'd get £7 Irish penalty anyway going over to Cheltenham. If he was a plan to see what his mark was and go to the Coral, he wouldn't have any chance of being back.
They wouldn't have entered in this
Yeah,
race
that's
if
true,
that
that's
was the
true.
plan. Like that, they wouldn't have entered here. For me, he's the interesting horse. Like you got to take some, unless you if you backed Pentland Hills in the Triumph Hurdle and he gave you that great moment and you won lots of money, you're probably going, Pentland Hills will win this and this is going to go to China. I know I would feel that way.
Yeah.
Right. But I didn't. So I'm like, well, take him on 6-4.
100% all day long. Especially I don't see what's in his favour. Like,
No.
Well, in his favour, Nicky probably will not run Call Me Lord because there's no point given either the battle against each other. I don't think they can already decide what they want to do with Call Me Lord. Unless it needs the run, which is unlikely to. So, okay, interesting race. The new one, Unibet Hurdle. It's named after the new one, a horse that couldn't get it done, the Champion Hurdle, and there's probably a load of them in it, which makes sense. Okay, one more race to look at then for the weekend. The Matchbook Clarence House Chase. Obviously, no Altior, but that really doesn't detract from what is going to be kind of round 2, Defi against Undersoy. Janika, Capeland, Maracuja making up some of the numbers, but it's a battle royale. 12-year-old against 7-year-old, Dave.
Yeah, and that's probably why the market is so in favour of Defi, is the younger legs. Undersow has been there. He's been carried out on a shield everywhere he's gone, and you could argue now that Ascot probably suits him more than Sandown would have. It's a bit more of a galloping kind of long straight, get going, heavy ground. And Defi, but then on the other hand, Defi was always holding on the soul.
Defi a bit more
It's
as
got,
well, I'd say.
like it's a complete toss up. The market's probably completely right at 8 to 11, 13 to 8. Forget about the rest. They shouldn't even run. They're just going to get in the way.
They won't get in the way. For long.
They won't get in the way on the soul anyway. It's going to be a great match, and I would lean towards Defi just because younger leg, and he's a little bit sexier at the moment, and he's my kind of fancy for the champion chase, and I'd like to see him win, continue that progression he's shown this year. But if Undersow won, it'd tear the house down as well, so it'd be great.
It's yeah.
Sort of
I'm right on this fence, like it's killing me.
You're kind of doing my job.
Yeah.
Don't make it. I like them both. I really thought Defi was a penalty kick in the Ryanair. Said it so many times.
Yeah,
so
but
it looks like Champion Chase is made up. So
no, Philip.
What do you think?
No, Philip Hobbs said yesterday it's a decision's far from made. That even if he wins this,
The really only races, sorry, Ross Dermot. The really only races for Defi are the 2 mile grade 1 chases. Like there isn't much 2.5 mile grade 1.
There is no 2.5 mile races for him. So
yeah, no, I agree.
He said basically if it's bad ground, he'll go to the Champion Chase, and if it's good ground, it looks like the Ryanair. But they have a decision to make either way. Though still, like it can still flop between depending on entries. If you're looking at entries, he's going to the Ryanair, but it obviously won't be as simple a decision as that. But I just think that the Ryanair is his race, in my opinion, not because he can't win a Champion Chase, but just because I think he definitely would win a Ryanair. But
that's my view too.
Yeah.
He jumps fine, jumps good. I just don't want him under immense pressure over 2 miles at Cheltenham.
Yeah,
to jump that.
And the likes of Check and First was only going to improve now.
Well, also the Champion Chase is now looking like they're all coming back.
Yeah,
like Altior's back.
Altior, Check, and they're all there. So yeah, no, it's a proper race, but I can't see Defi beating here. I love Undersow. It would be crazy scenes were he to win, but he beat him at Sandown, and I don't see why he wouldn't do it again, being 5 years younger than him. Obviously, people keep mentioning that Defi flopped here in 2017, but the whole of the Hobbs yard was flopping, and he flopped as well. But he's no problem going right-handed. He'd have no problem with this race at all, and I just think he's a bet really nearly off those odds then. Yeah.
I'm kind of with you. I'm just looking forward to. Hopefully, they both come to last, and it's a nice battle royale again. It won't do Defi any harm. Only a 7-year-old can go to the well plenty of times, and Undersow, is going to go to the well. So yeah, fascinating. No shame, I guess, that Altior doesn't turn up. They have found a race for him, Dave. It seems, have they?
Is a claimer, is it, or a seller? Class 5 round Lingfield or something like that.
Jumper bumper.
Do you remember that year with all the bumpers for jumpers?
I had my best January ever.
Bring it back, says Dave Weldon. A whole new campaign. Actually, they're looking for new races for the Cheltenham Festival.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. bumpers for jumping.
Stage them Monday at Linkfield, another jumper for
Sure,
bumpers.
they have one anyway. All right, shall we? Well, before we do, we normally take a break and come back and do our ante-post Cheltenham race. But I think last week I forgot to get naps out of everyone. Obviously, mine won, as we pointed out, in the wrong race on the wrong day. So why don't we get a nap for this weekend's race? And Dave, I'll let you go first.
I'm going to be cheeky and nap a double Papaguna and Edward Stone in the Supreme and the Mayor's race at Ascot.
No problem. So they are in the 150 and the 205. 150 at Ascot, 205 at Haydock. Diarmuid Nolan.
Okay, so I was going to nap.
You can nap against him.
Yeah,
it's absolutely
I will
fine.
be.
It's usually a good way of doing things, napping against me.
Stolen silver in that Edward Stone race is the one that I'm properly fancy this week. I think his form all matches up, and the Twist and Davis there continues to go from strength to strength. As well as that, there is one horse, Dean, that we haven't mentioned. Obviously, the race is that Manila Indo is running this weekend, which is obviously very exciting. But as well as that, in the 155 at Navan on Saturday, it's a handicap hurdle, and Datsy is very interesting off 133. This is a really interesting horse who ran a massive race on handicap debut to be fourth at Leopardstown over Christmas in one hell of a competitive race. He won here 2 runs back when he was part of that melee that nearly killed Pat Healy. So he knows the track, and hopefully now a mark of 133 won't stop him. And with that experience behind him now of that last run in that 155 at Navan on Sunday, he's on a low mark, so he does need to win to get into anything at Cheltenham. So I think he will definitely be off, and Datsy is very interesting to him.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to throw Fred into the mix of the 205, but I'm not going to nap him. I think there's an each way double to be had with that, and did they leave you out too if you wanted to go, big guns blazing. Yeah, go big guns blazing. It's good racing this weekend, whether you have a bet or not. I think it's an enjoyable watch, but one's at 12s, one's at 16s. They'll be interesting. Hopefully they both turn up and do the business. Henderson, of course, has 3 in that race, and 2 the other gentlemen on this podcast have napped 2 other horses. So good luck with it. All right, we're going to take a break now. When we come back, we'll be doing the Champion Hurdle for the Cheltenham Festival, and stay tuned.
Don't delay. Head over to bookmakers.co.uk today.
Okay, welcome back to the third and final part of this week's Racehour podcast, brought to you with our friends at bookmakers.co.uk. It's Diarmuid Nolan, Dave Weldon, and myself, Dean Ryan, and it's time to take an ante-post look at the market for the Unibet Champion Hurdle at the Cheltenham Festival. First questions first, probably the most straightforward one. I don't think any of us are going to fancy this horse for the race at the current prices, but is Epatante the right favourite, Derma?
Nope.
Dave?
Maybe.
Okay, elaborate.
Her form the last 2 races has been in the style of a progressive horse. She's rated 153 now. She's going to get £7. That puts her bang there with anything
as
else
good as Coleman
in the race. Yeah. But also in line with Classical Dream and Pentland Hills and all them other horses. She's right up there. So 7-2. She's short and it's a bad race, but she's probably just about right favourite based on what they've done this year.
Okay, I can understand why she sits where she does. I think I said on last week's pod, I don't want to live in a world where Epatante is the favourite for the Champion Hurdle in the middle of January, because it's nothing like I thought the race would look like on our run up to March. But that's where she is. If that was the prices right now on the day, would you back Epatante at 7-2? If the race was today?
If the race was today, I'd back Epatante.
Derma?
Nope.
No, you still wouldn't. Well, you've got some allegiance that we need to talk about. It's just slightly different. One of the other questions I have down here from our players: how bad a renewal might this be? I think the answers we're not quite sure yet. It doesn't look good though.
It doesn't look good at all. I think some of the entries would even back that up when you look at the likes of the Banner King Rebel. Now I know most years there is a few mad entries, but this year particularly you wouldn't begrudge anyone entering any sort of a horse into this Champion Hurdle. When you see Pentland Hills is second. I know he won a Triumph Hurdle, but just that last run wasn't very good. He's very inexperienced, and the Triumph Hurdle, if nothing else, has gone against everything that I thought and looks a very poor renewal. So the whole market is all over the place, and it's just not a market I'm excited about at all.
If Envoi Island and Honeysuckle were in here, Epatante would be third favourite, Dave.
Yes, that is correct.
And they're not going to run there.
No.
Well, if Honeysuckle wins the Dublin Racing Festival, if she does turn up, then I don't know.
I still don't think they will. I mean, she'd have to go and do what Apple's Jade did to change the minds of those involved, because it's a mare that I think they're a breeding operation.
They are,
They're
that's what I was
back
going
end.
to say.
And so Cheltenham win is a Cheltenham win. All right, amazing to win it with a mare,
But
but
this
she could win it next year.
But this Champion Hurdle looks easier than taking on Benny in the Mayor's Hurdle, though.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, you put Benny in there, she's probably the same price as Epatante.
She's favourite, and it's taking on Epatante and this field, or taking on Benny to do in the Mayor's Hurdle. At the moment they're looking as tough a task.
Look, we all love Honeysuckle on here, and I think Honeysuckle will win either race.
Same as, but it's still as hard a task.
Yeah.
I can't back her at tens for it because I've got in my head that she'll have to go and do an Apple's Jade style job on the Dublin Racing Festival.
So she's 5-1. I'm running no bet.
Yeah.
Do you back her at that?
Yeah, that kind of feels. I feel comfortable enough there.
Yeah, same as.
I haven't though.
No. See, that's. Yeah, like.
Sorry, you saying you wouldn't do that?
No, I'd probably back her.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You just gotta wait to get your money back. She's going to be entered in it all the way until the time.
So like this race really boils down to me is how forgiving are you to horses? Like, Epatante ran a shocker in the Mayor's Novice last year. You have to forgive her that and say she's a better horse this year.
I think she deserves to be forgiven that.
Yeah, give her one, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Then it comes down to Penton Hills to forgive. To say he's okay, you came to hurdling late towards second half of last season and went to win the Triumph. And see you Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Saldier is, I know Dermot, you love him, he's a bit of a weak horse. Like, he doesn't really follow up his race, and so you're basing it on the fact that he's going to get there fresh and show its true runnings there.
Gonna have to bust a load of trends too.
Yeah, Sharjah is an admirable horse and probably would have finished third last year. I'm pretty comfortable saying that he would have finished third last year if he wasn't brought down by Bouvardere in the Champion Hurdle. Classical Dream, you have to forgive 2 runs this year and go back and just forget about this year so far and just remember back to last year's Supreme. If you're fine with that, then he's a bet at 10-1. And then you're coming into Somerville Boy, who potentially is an each way angle and
Didn't get an entry.
did he not?
No.
Oh, okay.
That can still change.
Yeah, they can still supplement.
I think
But
so. Yeah.
I think that's a mistake. So then you're into massive price figures. So you need to forgive something at the top of the market in order to make yourself comfortable. And I'm comfortable forgiving Epatante a bad run in the Mayor's Novice last year. Just the whole doodle jab situation, and I think she was one of the ones that was given it pretty close to the festival and was just rammed for the sake of running. So 7-2 at the moment. I'm kind of, with her progression this season, I'm happy with her.
Okay.
Does it not show how shite a renewal it is that we're talking about a Mayor's Novice Hurdle flop? It's just so depressing. Saldier, I completely understand every argument you made there about him is completely true. You'd need non-runner no bet to back him because he's made of glass. But the form of he was coming to beat Espardalan, and his form in the Morgan Hurdle is the 2 strongest pieces of form. Allowing for Sharjah brings strong form in as well.
Sharjah's latest run is stronger than the Morgiana.
Yeah.
By 2 lengths maybe.
Yeah.
But that's
enough.
Just about. Saldier had more reasons.
I'd be happy.
Saldier was left with an awful lot of work to do, and the market would have suggested that as well. Even if he is got ready at home, which they will have to do, I'd imagine now. They won't leave him with that amount of work to do because I'd say they just thought he'll improve for this run.
Fair. That's very fair. So you'd expect him to, if he was good enough to win a Morgiana off a break
and drifting all day as if he was,
and then they will have him in better shape regardless without having a run for Champion
Hurdle.
That makes a lot of sense.
And they've done this with Penn Hill, they've done this with K Vega, they've done this with Benny to do. They've done this plenty of times.
So any other yard then that
you'd have
trends bust is a lot harder to do than a Willie Mullins yard.
Willie Mullins yard.
Also fair.
And as well as that, we're also looking at a subpar Champion Hurdle that he needs to break trends, a lot of trends, and this is a very hard thing to do, to arrive into a Champion Hurdle with this long a break. But he's arriving into what is a terrible Champion Hurdle to try and do it. So, like, if Bouvardere is running here, what price is Epatante? Like, if
Epatante doesn't run here if Bouvardere is running.
Espardalan is there as well. Yeah, sorry, she doesn't. So this is a terrible market, and Saldier will just be the one to pick up to pieces if he makes it on the day.
So like non-runner no bet right now is like 5s for Saldier, and in fairness to you, Dermot, I think you put it up at like 25s and 33s. So you're on a nice ticket. I could not touch it off the back of what is the expected prep now, but you're right when you say this yard, and they managed to get it back after a break to win a Morgiana. The Sharjah form is not a sexy horse for me, but that Sharjah form in the most recent run.
But he's Mr. Consistent, isn't he? That if it's as bad a race as I'm saying here, then Sharjah can win.
He definitely can win this Champion Hurdle, and that's kind of what the point I'm going to make. So he's 10-1 and he can win.
Yeah,
you can win it. Like Galway Hurdle form, the run the last day. You forgive the return, although it was still a good run behind Saldier the first time up. And all the little bits we know about it, even coming down last year's race, I think Patrick Mullins was on TV after the latest win saying that, that day felt good. That day I thought it was in the mix, and the way that race fell apart, he could have won last year's Champion Hurdle. Yeah. We're not going to know. So 10-1, been to a lot of parties and is thereabouts. Classical Dream, Dave, you're right in saying if you just forget everything you've seen this year, that it's difficult. He's probably still favourite for the race, even without a run. He'd still be favourite for the race. So there's an angle for your 10-1 to look quite big. If they can he needs a win on the rostrum before he pops up in the Champion Hurdle. So I was all very keen. I thought 10-1 was ridiculous, but then I've seen him run again, and it's my God. I don't know.
There's one horse who should get a mention as well is. Course of Lime, who David Russell gave a very soft time to the last day. He's gone apparently straight away to get his win done, which is what they were saying on social media. So during the race, David could hear a noise, and pretty much you could see in the finish there, he wasn't in didn't push him at all to get up to the front two. Kind of let Sharjah go. Now Sharjah probably is just a better horse than him, but you could see worse based on that Triumph Hurdle form from last season. You can see worse 25-1 shots than him.
Did Not So Sleepy get an entry?
Not So Sleepy is an entry, yeah.
Yeah, so I was going to come to these types of horses now. So you've got like Not So Sleepy, Course Sublime that you mentioned already. Verdana Blue, I assume, is alive.
Yeah, she's going to Saudi Arabia next.
Right, so we can
2
scratch
weeks.
that.
No, she's going to Champion Hurdle as well after that.
Okay. Well, maybe you shouldn't scratch that. It's only going to, it's one race, and we'll need ground to be absolutely spot on. Thomas Darby, if it wins this weekend, is in the picture. That's a 33-1 chance. Second in the Supreme. You've got City Island, who they might go back to hurdles with.
No entry though.
Yeah. What are we going to see from here? Petit Mouchoir has finished second to the two that we quite like in Sharjah. And Saldier is in there at 40-1. I don't know where LeBake is, but that's in there at 50-1. This race still needs something sorted out. And Durasso, who runs this weekend, has entered the betting at 50s, and I can see bits of nibbles around at 40-1. So something could still come out and blow this market out the water.
Yeah. The Not So Sleepy angle for me is that it's a front runner and could just go and might catch a few sleeping. And I actually didn't mean that. and
that's good.
And Pippa Place around 25-1, that's kind of what you're looking at with them bigger prices. You're hoping that the front of the market is so weak.
It's just a bit mad that that Not So Sleepy is a shorter price than Cornerstone Lad, who's already kind of, I know he beat a Bouvardier with a splinter in his foot, but he still did it, I suppose.
Beat a three-legged Bouvardier.
Which is probably more formed than most of the others carry in. And
that's why it's such a good market.
Petit Mouchoir at 40-1 as well. If the Irish form does end up ringing true, you've got a horse there that could it wouldn't be the biggest shock with the way that he's been running all year, Petit Mouchoir, because he's backed that up now twice. He's been second to Sharjah and Saldier. That if he backed that up again, it would be no shock to see him do what Silver Streak did last year and finish third.
Yeah, well, if he did back that up and Saudia wins the race, he's a length and a bit behind that.
Yeah, so
if he did back it up and Sharjah wins the race, he's 3 lengths behind that.
He's the kind of horse there that you put on just for a complete and utter, payday. You'd put like Saldier to beat Petit Mouchoir in a bet,
just to go and repeat a bit of form. Yeah, sure. Yeah. As much as it's wide open and we have a 3-1 favourite who no one ever would even thought would be entered in this race. It's still a fascinating contest to talk about. I think the biggest takeaway from this is that if the two horses that are not intended to run in this race run in it, one of them will win. Envoy Island and Honeysuckle. And for all the right reasons, if they were my horses, I wouldn't go for that race. But we're saying that they'll win it if they did.
Yeah, and I'm just, obviously, look, I'm on Saldier with the price that he's on. But the closer it's getting to Cheltenham and the more hopefully positive noises you'd hear about him, you just couldn't put anyone off with the form that he carries in. Him and Sharjah, I think at the moment, with nothing else coming out of the fold, if these are the runners without Honeysuckle and Envoy Allen, you'd suggest that Rich Ritchie's actually in a nice place in this bracket.
Penton Hills could be out the back of the telly in the betting after Saturday.
Yeah.
And that's current second favourite. So you could be on the second or third favourite. Or
given Willie Mullins' form in the race, you could nearly couple the three of them together. Classical Dream, Sharjah and Saldier, and you're on a 10-1 each. you could couple them all together and be on as
Well,
a
Diarmuid
simple price,
Nolan
like.
followers, the disciples of Diarmuid Nolan, are on Saldier at a really big price. So you can back another one, Diarmuid. Which one are you telling him to back?
Sharjah, I think.
Okay. Dave, you're an Epatante fan.
Yeah, I have Sharjah.
It's not easy
Sharjah
to
follow
nail.
home. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's the Champion Hurdle. Yeah.
It's kind of like the year, remember when Leicester won the Premier League? Everything else just kept tripping and falling. Spurs and Arsenal in behind, and all the good teams just never turned up that year. So like all the good teams in this metaphor is your Bouverdaires and your Espartalin, unfortunately, and then you've got the rest of your bad teams. So this is the year when like Sharjah, all he has to do is just remain consistent the whole year, and he could well just do that and win it. And that's all Leicester did, and that's all the Sharjah might do.
Good.
Yeah.
Could happen. Yeah.
Can't believe you just reminded Dean about the year Spurs should have won the league and they didn't. He's crying over there.
We've come to the end of the podcast. So thanks very much, chaps. Dave Weldon, Diarmuid Nolan. You've been listening to the Race Hour, brought to you with our friends at bookmakers.co.uk. Hopefully, we've helped you out for the weekend, and the Cheltenham ante-post market for the Champion Hurdle. Been a pleasure. Talk to you all next week. Best of luck.
Godspeed.
Cheers, Dean.
You've been listening to The Race Hour, brought to you by bookmakers.co.uk, your best bet for tips, news and bookmaker reviews.